Further to yesterday's great cat testicle debate, how long does it take to remove the sunroof from a Rover R8? Well, it is 17 minutes past 9 now. About 5 minutes to get it all undone, and then a couple of minutes not recording by accident, and then just a second to do yourself an injury. 20 minutes and it's out. So another 20 minutes and it's back in. Brilliant. Sunroof replacement, 40-minute job. Easy. But it's not, is it? Refitting is not as easy as taking it out. These tubes here were the most difficult part. You've got to get those tubes back down the pillars. Before you can get to the sunroof, you've got to take all of the headlining out. And before you can take the headline out, you've got to take the pillar trim off. And before you can do that, you've got to take all the handles and the mirrors and all these other bits like that. So, no, it's not 40 minutes. I reckon to do it properly, more like 3 hours actually, maybe 4. None of that's including getting the sunroof out, because there seems to be a problem. It doesn't actually fit through that gap. It won't come out of there, and it won't come out of there unless I take that seat out, and one of the bolts are stuck. So the obvious answer is really take it out the tailgate, but that's not attached. That's easier said than done. Off out with the sunroof in the back to a place called Mossley Land to go and see the Earl of Mossley, Mr. Mansley himself, with this sunroof which I have in the back. And this is effectively another test run, because although I've done 91 miles in this car, the furthest I've been at any one point has been, well, about 5 miles. This time I'm going to do 12 without stopping, and there'll be 12 at a higher speed as well. And that's important today because of one nagging little thing I've had going on since yesterday, to do with that brake scrapey sound that I know you could hear it, because I could hear it when I played it back. Provided the car doesn't give me some sort of fault exactly like I'm explaining there, I shall be giving it a bit of a beating over these hills, where I think it's where it belongs. This car belongs on roads like this, being driven quite well. Otherwise it makes no sense whatsoever. Further to yesterday's great cat testicle debate, admittedly I did have all by myself, Dick Dastardly pointed something out about cat food which is rather curious. That they have chicken and tuna flavour, which cats don't go chasing. They chase sparrows and mice and anything that is trying to get away from it. Chickens don't really try and get away from them. Tuna don't live in people's gardens, do they? These flavours, rather than actually what they are, of cat food, are really there for the owners, because nobody wants to buy a tin of mouse food. It's got real mice in there, it's got real sparrows in there. That'll be why. Sod the cat, no, you're going to eat this. I mean, it just proves it. They don't look at the tin. They wouldn't choose their own cat food because they'd choose it all wrong. Now you imagine if you had sparrows as pets and you bought their pet food, and you literally could open up a can of worms for them. You imagine if you kept hedgehogs as pets and you went to the supermarket to buy their food, cans of slugs and dog shit. That'd be an interesting idea. Imagine having magpies as pets and you could buy tins of roadkill from Aldi. Imagine doing the can design for that. One of these days somebody's going to say to me, "Stop driving through Delft, we're sick of seeing the thing." If we want to watch Last of the Summer, why not put it on? No matter how small the village is, big trucks still have to access. And I'm not talking about that curtain side, I'm talking about that Howard ground services there. It's got to try and go up that road. Truck drivers generally don't get enough credit for what they have to do, because they're the most awkward things to negotiate around, and particularly anything to do with building, because you're having to go into small areas. At least with a bus, you have these routes that you go through where you know you can get through it, and you don't have to do any backing up any strange places and inconveniencing anyone. HGV drivers always get a load of grease. Smallest cars always have the most parking dents. Just like have you ever seen a Nissan Micra? Yes, obviously, but the K12, at the end of the K12 they did parking sensors on the back, and they always had dents as well. You imagine being a K12 driver with a great big dent on your rear bumper, and when your daughter asks you, how did you get that dent? And you say, oh, well, my eyes are not as good as they used to be. But you've got parking sensors. Oh, my ears are not as good as they used to be. There we go, making fun of old people again. That's ageist. But I'm not allowed to do that. I will be old myself one day. In fact, I already am halfway there. I do find it amusing. You get some people who struggle to drive a small car. A small, easy car to drive, one that's easy to negotiate, easy to park, easy not to crash. They struggle with that, and then they don't feel safe in the world of big cars, and they buy a big car that has poor visibility and massive A-pillars that give you impaired vision in the first place, and then it has to be full of sensors everywhere to try and stop you from crashing, and then you've got absolutely no responsibility whatsoever on whether you end up crashing your car or not. Giddy up, horsey, over the land and away. And so here I am back at work, ready to crack on with the job there's I need to crack on with. As well as dropping that sunroof off, I picked myself up a nice little inlet manifold gasket, which I intend on fitting today. I haven't only just got back though, it's 4 o'clock now. It's 4 o'clock and I went out at 10. Something strange gone on there. Yes, I've turned the car around. There's a good reason for this. That if I get stuck and I can't finish it off, I can get this out. Time to charge my phone while I crack on with this. That manifold. It's a relatively easy job. I've done a few of them. But this one might be easier than most, because so far I've removed the airbox, those two pipes just there, and a couple of plugs, that vacuum pipe, and the throttle body. At that point I was ready to start undoing the 7 13mm bolts. I went for the first one and it was loose. Went for the second one. Yeah, every single one of them was finger tight. That's taken me about a minute. Seriously, just a minute just to put those bits back together. How fabulous would it be if I didn't need to spend any more minutes putting any more bits back together on that? I'm going to find out now. So, previously it was leaking from the bottom of the inlet manifold and trickling down the edge of there and then dropping down on the bottom of the gearbox. Will it still do it? Just going to give it a minute to tick over and see if it wants to misbehave at all. So far so good. That's actually saved me an awful lot of time. What can I do with that time I've saved? Trim my beard? I think I'll take a break from this car tomorrow and do a video about something else. Because for a start, there's lots of things being neglected around the yard. and I need to find another way of bringing in some pennies. Speaking of which, there we see Derek. Now I have requests for parts for this car, and it's just sat there not doing anything. Nobody seems to want to buy it as it is. At £555 is, well, £550 is not an awful lot of money for this car, I don't think. So I'm going to give it another week, and then it's going to become a parts car. I'm going to be so unpopular for that. I've got to make some money as well though. I don't make any money off a car just being sat in the yard for months and months doing nothing. On this car though, at the end of this video about this car, let's go through what's been done. Well, new brake calipers, second-hand brake calipers that work rather, one new disc so far that might not even be needed, the inlet manifold sorted out, another coolant pipe which I did the other day, MOT of course. What else? I'm sure there's something else I've done. Oh, I fitted a clock that doesn't work. I fixed the dodgy fuel gauge by putting some fuel in it, and now it's asking for more. I've taxed it. I'm running it. Carl, Senior Mustard and I fixed the earthing issue. Didn't know it was an earthing issue, but it definitely was, and I've managed temporarily to stop the alarm from going off. So there's quite a few things there actually. And if there's nothing else for today, that's the end of the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you'll join me for the next one. Bye bye. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If you had you imagine if you kept you imagine if you kept hedgehogs as pets and you went to the supermarket to buy their food, cans of slugs and dog shit. That'd be an interesting idea. Imagine having magpies as pets, and you could buy tins of roadkill, and you could buy tins of roadkill from Aldi.